8 a.m. The wind's from the northwest, 46 degrees. Looks like rain is ending. Back to the Weymouth Big Dig. The team is assembled. We have Steve, Mitt's upstairs. T-Rex is ready to go out the door on this Friday. 1, 2, 3, and out the door. Yeah, a little back jump look. And if it's Friday, it must be windy and cold. That has been the case just about every Friday, all winter long, 2025. And it's actually technically about the same temperature it was 24 hours ago when we were in northern Vermont in the low 40s. But this is a completely different kind of air mass. For the last several days, Boston and Cape Cod and the islands have been the cold spot just because of that old storm over the ocean and the flow coming in off the ocean. Now, Cape Cod and Boston are going to be the warmest spots because we have new air from Canada. It's cold air advection. And what's happening in northern Vermont is nothing short of startling. It was 70 degrees and sunny in Burlington, Vermont at sunset yesterday, well, 6 p.m. on the day of the vernal equinox. Beautiful. And this morning at sunrise, it was heavy snow and 32 degrees. So the temperature dropped 38 degrees overnight in northern Vermont, and it is snowing really hard, or it was snowing really hard. This is a fast mover. Steve in Montgomery, Vermont, sharing this. Eric is up on his mancation at Jay Peak. He shares this before and after from last night and this morning. All right, Steve's walking in circles. He's getting a little stuck. Who can blame him? I got so much stuff out here. Oh, my yard being rebuilt and all the furniture from last year. And yep, this show is like a soap opera. It's the Weymouth Big Dig going on, and they're setting up pile driving equipment down below. They're going to drive piles and create a boardwalk, and it's not going to be all boards, but they're out here, and our yard is mostly complete. I think when I had left, I had asked them to put that Alberta spruce in the ground. They said sure, no problem. Yeah, well, they're gone, and the Alberta spruce is now toast. I told one of my friends it's got sentimental value. He says take a picture of it and put it on the wall. Yeah, not a lot of sympathy from the excavators sometimes. But I left this in here because the birds really like it. And so that's got to go. But the birds have the pussy willow. All right, this weather is for the birds, trying to make a forecast. It's very low confidence. Yesterday I said something about, I think I might scrap the GFS because it teased us so much saying that we'd have an accumulating snow in the Berkshires and southern Vermont this morning. And then when I saw the NAM 2 days ago and it said no such thing, I said, oh, I don't know if I trust the GFS. The NAM did capitulate a little bit, and it did snow in northern Vermont last night and maybe a tiny bit in the Berkshires. But when I see the changes for next week and I look at the Euro and then I look at the GFS, I'm sticking with the GFS. I'll explain that in a moment. Steve on the mat, so they get the seat under the mat. Regional temperatures this morning. After Nantucket being the cold spot with the easterly wind, Nantucket, the wind is from the south, and it's not that strong, or at least it was before the front came through, and it was 50 degrees, the warm spot. And in northern Vermont, it's 32 degrees, and it's actually getting colder in northern Vermont at the higher elevations. And so this is a pretty complex weather map. I want to see the surface analysis from 5 a.m., 9Z is 5 a.m. Look at the lows, one north of New England, another one right over New England, a 992 low near Boston, and dual cold fronts. Call it a negative tilt trough. That's when the southern end of the front starts racing faster to the east than the northern end of the front, and that also results in cyclogenesis. So that's what we have, cyclogenesis, strengthening low pressure going east of Boston this morning. T-Rex just tried to trip Steve, but Steve's having none of it. Yep. Cast of characters, TK, T-Rex, Steve. You never know what door we're going to go out or what we're going to see because this is all live. One take. Why don't we walk over to the rain gauge? The NAM was trying to produce a half-inch of rain for me in its guidance yesterday, and it did rain hard for a short time. And I picked up 0.27, it looks like. So a quarter inch of rain here. This is my euonymus we transplanted last week. Who knows if it's going to live or not. Let's go to the NAM high res. This is the model we've been watching the last 2 days. 2 days ago, it really foundered on missing the snow that we're getting in northern Vermont this morning, but it picked up on it last night, and there's the snow. The back edge of the snow retreating rapidly to the east, so the snow is ending in northern Vermont, about 2 inches in the higher elevations. And it looks like it's going to snow a little harder, though, for parts of northern New Hampshire, and especially Maine, about maybe Baxter State Park and points north. Looks like it could be more like a 2 to 4 inch snowfall today. And we're in cold air Advection. Tonight's going to be a freeze. It might freeze all the way to Boston, at least a tiny skim on the bird baths overnight tonight. But the high is going to our south, and when highs go to your south, the cold does not hold. And here comes a warm front and a cold front tomorrow afternoon. Green is rain about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's raining at lower elevations and snowing at higher elevations in Vermont again. It's a fast mover. I don't think it's going to be a very impactful situation, but you're going to want your rain gear in ski country tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, radiational cooling. Sunday should be a nice spring ski day with the temperature in the 20s at the tops of the mountains, but the sun is out. And then late in the day and at night, here comes another warm front to our north on Monday, but that's going to sink south. This is pretty exciting. If you like watching big Troys, the crane, they're hooking up the driver, so we're going to have some loud noises. Our house is going to be shaking today. It's kind of shaking right now, matter of fact. This is gusty. My fingers are getting cold. The animals don't really like the sounds. That my microphone is probably reacting to the wind right now, so I'm going to try and get out of the wind a little bit. And why don't we just go to the GFS and talk about the complications of the forecast over the next week. I mean, it's a fast flow out of Canada. Canada has a lot of cold. The United States is warming up. There's a warming trend on the backside of this high for most of us. All right, wait a second. T-Rex, can you stop? What's he getting stuck on now? Okay, so the twines in there catch the lines. You guys, cuteness alert. Let's go to the GFS day by day, and I'll talk about the complexities. GFS this morning initializes with that low over Boston, racing off to the east very quickly, and like I said, high pressure to the south, so the return flow brings the air back in from the southwest. So now with this west and northwest wind, here in southeastern New England, we are going to be the warmest, in the 50s again by tomorrow, but northern New England, a mixture of rain and snow coming in. And that's sort of a weak wave on a front, and that's going to come through here. And the front's going to kind of stall out. I think we're between systems on Sunday. It's colder north and pretty nice south. Nice ski day. It's Maple Sugar Open House weekend in Vermont. Looks great. And then Monday, here comes another front, and look at this. Again, I think the GFS is too far south with the snow in southern New England. Same mistake it made for today, it's going to make on Monday. But I like it better than the Euro. They actually kind of agree here on Monday for some more elevation snow. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, this is the GFS, you have upper level trough, low barometer cold, I call it, with just some snow showers and kind of seasonable for late March. Probably be around 50 in southern New England, 30s in the hills, and just about anybody can get a rain or a snow shower. And then here comes another system on Thursday. Now, this is a cold air front. Again, it's a Thursday. It's always a Thursday, Friday. Low goes across northern New England. More snow for the higher elevations. That looks like a few inches. And this is going to be colder air than what we're getting right now. So that could have some staying power into next weekend. Steve just took off a break. He's making a break for it. Steve, I'm going to put your line around something here. Are you coming back up? Come on back up. Yeah, good thinking. Yep, we have a cat on a string. You sit on that rock. This is going to be the Steve rock from now on. We salvaged this from the Big Dig. All right, back to that GFS. Now, this is where it really changes from the Euro. The Euro is trying to bring in a warm storm here, again, next weekend or so. And here's the GFS. It shows the colder air advection and a little more snow lingering on Friday. And again, the front is stalled just to our south. It's really warm, and just to our north is really cold. And here's another wave coming along here next Saturday with some more potential snow next Saturday. And then Sunday, we're in the cold air advection. That 510 line is just to the north of New England. That's the Arctic air. And there's a low zipping out of the Great Lakes and coming across here next Monday or so. So that's just amazing how fast this is changing. And then 240 hours is out to March 30th. And there's a major storm in the middle of the nation, but note there's a 10:30. This is as far as we go because it really goes off the rails, and there's no way we're going to get it right after day 10. So this is the day 10 setup, March 30th. It looks like going out like a lion. That's a 10:36 and strengthening high pressure system in Ontario. And when a high goes to your north like that, it really resists the warmth. So that next major storm that could be ending up blizzard number 4 in the middle of the nation, and maybe that ends up being snow for us too. That would be around April Fools. We talked a lot about that a couple of weeks ago when we saw the warm wave coming. We said the cold wave would probably be back here in time for April Fool's weekend. Is it a weekend? I think it is. It's somewhere around there. And so this is a really tenuous situation. It's like straddling a fence, walking a real narrow fence with no guy wires. You're just on your own, and I'm trying to tend cold. The Euro would have that being a warm storm for New England, March 30 to April 1st. The GFS says much potential for a much colder storm, and I'm going to ride that because it kind of makes sense with my wave theory and all that about how you go warm, cold, warm, cold. We certainly had a long, cold, snowy wave there in January and February, and the West needed a recharge. The West got the recharge. I didn't look at the snow map today. I'll show that again tomorrow. It's Sugar Open House. That's it for the weather. It's Sugar Open House weekend in Vermont. And, you know, I was up at Nebraska Knoll right before the big meltdown, and we met the Cody family, and they're going to have an open house, and are most of the sugar houses, and offering things like deep fried maple donuts and maple hot dogs and sugar on snow. And you can see how the whole process works. And the fact that it got cold again last night and tomorrow night means that the sap probably starts flowing again. I would wonder. I bet there's been a torrent of sap, and they're probably working overtime, and they're exhausted. So, but they're so friendly. They'll offer you little tidbits and treats and snacks and tours, and it's really fun. It's mud season, and thank goodness the mud flow is slowed just a little bit. A lot of these sugar houses, you got to get up some muddy roads. Looks kind of muddy around here. Steve's taking off on me. All right, so the Enmore yesterday, leaving beautiful northern Vermont where it was in the 60s, and coming back to southeastern Massachusetts where it was in the 50s, but it did warm up. You know, yesterday the high temperature in Boston was only in the lower 50s. We're going to be warmer over the next several days in a colder air mass because it's a land breeze instead of an ocean flow. There's Boston right there. It looks like it's trying to precipitate a little more. So one more shower for us. The tide is turning in the atmosphere, and tomorrow will feature pile driving and more and more and more. Here's yesterday's, mostly travel back to the Big Dig. All right, talk to you in 24 hours. You comfy, T-Rex? Yeah, nice couch. So we're checking out, heading south, but we're not done skiing. Just changing lanes, so to speak. Look at that. It's the cirrus from the incoming storm and the low clouds left over from, I think, the offshore front. Almost the cold air and warm air advection at the same time. Water running downhill. Our vernal pools are nice and stocked with salamander and toad weather. On T-Rex. Yeah. We got horses.
Hello, and thank you for calling Cold Hollow Cider Mill. Our retail store business hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, we drive down this road all the time. Slowly, right? Cork Market. And Cafe on Moscow. Would that be the Moscow River in the backyard, T-Rex? They love you in here. This way, Rex. In the door. Rex, we found a new little waterfall. Well, new to us. We never stopped in Moscow. Great sandwich store up there. Now we got some falls going on. I think this is probably headed toward the Missisquoi and ultimately the Lake Champlain. through a cut near Mad River, through the Green Mountains, which are turning green by the minute. Greener on this vernal equinox, Vermont. Gray sky, approaching the Connecticut River, old ice, 53 degrees, noontime. Typical for springtime, Connecticut River up to its banks, flowing over in a few spots, all the way to Long Island Sound. It was 55 when we were in Vermont. Came over the bridge, there was some blue sky, and now it's gray just past Whaleback, and we're down to 50. Is this the ocean influence? Is this the ocean influence all the way into Grantham, New Hampshire? Some snow on the ground and it's a little damp here at King Hill. I love that name, King Hill, New London, New Hampshire. 46 degrees. Is this connected to the ocean, you think, or just the fact that I think it's the old cold high to the northeast? Who would have thought it would still been here on a Thursday? The front went by last Monday. Wow. Neat. And there's a touch of drizzle and some snow. Yay. Into Massachusetts. Ground looks a little damp. First blue sky though since Vermont. 53 degrees, 2 p.m. Can't wait to see whether it's nice or not nice in Boston. That's going to be interesting. Gorgeous in Andover. Almost up to 60. Maritime layer for sure. You can see the tops of the buildings in the Back Bay, but not the financial district. So cool. Drove into the low cloud and the gray right around Malden. Temperature went from 57 to 50. Probably not done yet either as we go to the South Shore. We'll see. It's brutal. That last half hour, it takes an hour to get through Boston and back. But there's some blue sky and we're just about 50 degrees and the yard has changed yet again. It's low 70s up northern Vermont, and it's in the upper 40s on the coast. Will it get warmer when they get colder? When the wind off the ocean turns into wind off the land, we will be the warmest. But I think it's not going to be this warm again for some time. For New England as a whole, Boston will be warmer. Pushing 6 o'clock. Best part of the day, I bet, in the Boston area. I pretty much know. Feels like the air is trying to come in from the south. Got the crew down there burning the midnight oil, so to speak. Guess they're on some kind of deadline. What a fascinating sky. So, about a time lapse showing probably the clouds moving in 2 or 3 or 4 different directions. Would be my guess today. The pylons are ready to be put in, but it doesn't look like they're put in yet. All right, a lot of progress at the Weymouth Big Dig. And time lapse both of Weymouth and Cape Cod. Coolest spots in New England today. Near 70 at the ski resorts and maybe 50 at the coast. Talk to you tomorrow.